Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is a very juicy story time because we're diving into my past relationship with my ex-girlfriend who infamously tortured me for the entire relationship span that I was with her. When I got out of troubled teen camp, I had no backbone and I put myself into very bad situations time and time again until I got mental health help about 4 or 5 years ago. So this is the new me. The new me does not do things like this, but the old me did very silly things. So we're just gonna take a look into that relationship. Me and her actually did 1 year at a Christian university together. So we're gonna be talking about that and how alienating it was. This was not an LGBTQ plus friendly place, and I had just come out of lockdown school where I felt a tremendous amount of shame and disgust at who I was, and then I was with these people who further perpetuated that. So I was literally at a school called Evangel with my lesbian partner living in the dorms in secret. So we're gonna discuss that timeline of that relationship, the brief stint that we had at Christian college, and the horrors that ensued when we got back to Wisconsin. So if you want to hear that story time and also do this glam with me, which is very fun, then just keep watching. Hello, ladies, and the couple of gentlemen that are here. There are not very many men on this channel. I look at my stats and I think the following is like 96 or 97% female, so I love that. I love that for us girls. And to the couple of guys that are here, you're very special. Today I want to do like just a really extra look. I have some of the coolest palettes ever. This looks like a mess, but this is the Celestial Divinity palette, just kind of depotted from Pat McGrath. Every time I depot something, I regret it because then they just shatter, and they shatter when you depot them when you're me because I didn't do it correctly. But we're going to be using this palette. It's very fabulous. And then I've got some other cool like toppers. I've got some Danessa Myricks glitters. And then I'm back on this foundation that I used literally from like 21 to 25. Double wear, Estee Lauder. I'm back on it. And like, it's such a good foundation. I don't know why I ever got off of it. If you have like oily skin and makeup doesn't stick to you, this is super bomb. So just throwing that out there. I think we should probably start with the eye makeup because it's gonna get messy. So let's put on like a little concealer as a primer and just go from there. Oh wait, actually let's use a real primer for once. I have this Elisabeth Mott Thank Me Later primer. And this works well. I have it in my makeup kit as well. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I ended up having to spend a year at Christian college with my girlfriend. And this was not an LGBTQ plus friendly place, so we had to pretend that we were besties, and it was the stupidest year of my life. Besides the years locked in Alabama, this was also one of the stupider things that has ever happened to me. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be a story time of how me and this girl left the program and ended up in a relationship, and then all the drama that ensued after. It doesn't exactly, the story is probably not going to paint her in a very positive light, but we're not going to drag her. I'm just going to tell the story. There will be no dragging. It's just the story, you know? It's so funny because people always ask me like, how do your parents feel that you're like shit-talking them on the internet? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just telling the story of my life. And if it doesn't paint you in a positive light, that's your problem. So we're gonna start with this mauve shade, and I'm gonna get into the story time. This is not gonna be so much of a teaching, because if there's anything that we've learned, it's that I can't do both. I can't teach and do story times at once. I wish that I could, but I just can't. So basically, when I was at the School for Troubled Girls, they turned me into a staffer because I hadn't finished high school and I couldn't leave without my high school diploma. That would set me back a lot. Then I would have to go back to public school, which would be humiliating because I was a brainwashed, like, culty kid at this point. Like, it was bad. So I was there working, and there was this one girl, and she's always kind of making eyes at me, and I actually couldn't even be alone with her because, you know, you feel the spark. Like, I liked this girl. So, like, because I was all religious and staunch, I was like, arm's length, girlfriend, get back. And also, we were, at the time, we were in 2 different places in our program. So she was fully locked up in the program, and I had a still very restrictive, but like a little bit more like power in that dynamic. So like I avoided her at all costs, but then she left the program because she had a family member pass, and I can't remember all the logistics, but usually it was really, really bad news. Like usually they would not let you come back anywhere near the campus if you had left before your time was up. But because she had went through this loss, they kind of made an exception for her. And by the way, they did not treat her well. This exception, although it was an exception, she went through hell with them, basically. Like, they didn't let her have home visits, etc. when she had a family member with terminal illness. She doesn't want me to tell her story, so I'm not going to. But I don't want you guys to get the right idea that she was treated the way that she should have. She was not. So she came back under kind of like loose, friendly terms, and she was staying at the staff apartments, hotels up the hill while I was a staff. So we were able to hang out because I had very limited privileges. I was allowed to finally talk to her in private. We were alone together, blah, blah, blah. And there was, you know, like some chemistry going on there. And so again, I felt very tormented by that because I was trying everything. With everything in me, I was trying not to be like, not even to have like an ounce of gayness in me. I was trying to fight it. I was a Christian, and I was told that this was just like the worst thing that you can do. So I was like, I'm not gonna do it. So I was fighting that off, but then when she left, and then but then we had this kind of like connection going on. She left and went back home, and then a couple months later, I'm gonna use this Colourpop stick. A couple months later, I graduated high school, and it was actually time for me to leave because, as you guys know, I was there longer because I hadn't graduated high school. So when I graduated high school, we got back in contact. We were talking all the time. And then it was kind of like a thing where we like liked each other. We met and we, you know, we became a couple, whatever. We had a few visits, and that was that. But when I left the School for Troubled Girls, my dad had worked hard to plant me in the next Christian location. So my dad is heavily involved in the ministry lifestyle, and he put a down payment from my college fund down at a college called Evangel. Oh my God, I can't believe that I went to a college called Evangel. I can't believe my past life at all. So I was enrolled in this school, and then I got into this relationship with this girl. When my dad found out, he was pretty much, he was not so impressed. He kind of cut me off, and like, he just kind of let me down in a lot of ways. Like, I asked him if he would help me buy a car for like $2,000, and he said no. And then a couple months later, he bought my little sister a Jeep Wrangler. So my relationship with my dad was falling apart, but I was still set up to go to this school. And I think I was like back and forth between him and my mom's house at this time. I felt really I felt really let down by him in general. So this is kind of when I started to cut contact with my dad around this time. I just have to use that color. Let's put a little of that on the lid. So me and him were on the rocks, and then I kind of like was outed by my little sister. So my girlfriend at the time, before I had gone to this school, I was still at home. My girlfriend at the time was pressuring me to put in a relationship with her on Facebook, and I really didn't want to because I wasn't ready. I had just left this fucking cult. Excuse my language. I just left this cult, and now I was in a relationship with a girl, and kind of like everybody who knew me from my hometown probably knew me as this Bible thumper, and then all of a sudden I was a lesbian. So I was just like going through a lot. Like I had not like come out, and like I wasn't ready for it. But my little sister at the time, she must have been 17. She was annoying, but like, let's not fault her. She's been through a lot. That's my bestie. She comes running down the stairs and she goes, "You're in a relationship with so-and-so?" Yells it at the top of her lungs. And everybody knew that I had been FaceTiming this girl for like every single day of my life. And my mom goes, and my mom is such a panicker. Anytime anything ever happens, she goes, and it makes us all tense up. She's like full of panic. I hear that and I'm like, oh no. So I was kind of outed by my little sis, that little brat. Let's use this color. And that's when my family found out or whatever. But I was still enrolled in this college and I had to go, and the time was kind of coming. So I was in this relationship with this girl, and we sneakily, because my dad couldn't know, because my dad had already kind of like failed to help me in a lot of ways financially because of my gayness, and also just because he was not a kind father to me ever. Not until I got to the age of like 26 was my dad a kind person to me. And like, no shade, because he and I are very friendly now, but he was like my mortal enemy for some time because he just made me feel like crap. And something that's kind of messed up also that he and my mom did is they actually divided the children. So they had 4 girls, and they actually picked who they wanted to financially support, and then only financially supported and only was helpful towards those 2 kids. And it pit me and my sisters against each other for many years. So my dad, I only found this out like 2 years ago, but my dad wasn't financially technically responsible for me. So when I was like really desperate for like money for food in college, and I didn't have a car and I didn't have a job, it was just too bad. So yeah, so there's that dynamic. So I was trying to stay kind of in his good graces because I had no money and I was going to school out of state, and I knew that I would need him to like help me out from time to time. It was either that or just be broker than broke. And most of the time I was broker than broke, but sometimes, very seldom, he would help me out, but he could not know that I was there with my girlfriend, you know? So she moves there, I move there, and we move into a Christian college dorm. What in the Alabama is going on? Me and my girlfriend move into a Christian college dorm. And this is not just like a loosely Christian college. It's a very immersive experience. Like, let's use some of this too. You guys already know I probably am gonna have to use one of those. Maybe this one first. I'll just drag it on the lid and see if that looks good. So it was like a very immersive experience, and we also had to participate. So at this college, you were supposed to be in chapel 3 times a week. we eventually stopped going. I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle being in this really religious atmosphere any longer. I was going on year 4 of being like pretty much living in a cult compound, and I was finally like kind of finding my, or at least like searching for my identity and searching for normalcy. So I actually stopped going to chapel, and they actually started fining me money, like literally charging me money for not going to chapel. What in the, like, in what world does this happen? I don't know. I just kept putting myself in the worst situations. I should have just stayed home. But I couldn't really stay home because that was my college fund, and I kind of needed to like go where I could go to college. So I did this first year there, and me and my girlfriend lived in the same dorm together, and we had to pretend like we were just friends. And I felt like really kind of queasy about it, because if somebody caught on, we would be like the blacker than black sheep. So there was like all of this kind of fear and shame, and Christianity still just kind of like enveloping my life. Like I just like couldn't catch a break. And also it was my fault, because when I was in Alabama, I agreed to go to this school, and then I got out of a cult and I started to live a normal life, and I still was held to this standard of going to this school or whatever. So I was there with my girlfriend, and it was torture. So she could be quite a lot. She has trauma, I have trauma. But my type of trauma has never made me, no shade, but my type of trauma has never made me be cruel to other people. And so my type of trauma, like I have like done a couple like dirty things in my life, like a couple like not so great things, but like I never like actively have like screwed somebody over like tremendously. Whereas this girl, she was like giving me mental health problems. Like, I'm just gonna say it how it was. Like, she wouldn't let me sleep. It was a very toxic relationship. She would wake me up by screaming in my ears. It was horrible. But because I had only ever been in really toxic environments, like my home life was really toxic. My parents were both responsible for like a lot of weird stuff at home. My home life was toxic, and then my life at the school for troubled girls was toxic. I hadn't healed from either of those things. And now I was in this abusive relationship, and I didn't even really know that it was abusive until it got really physical, and that's where I drew the line. But it's silly because it was abusive the entire time. It was abusive before she got physical with me, and I just had no sense of boundaries, no sense of self, and I really also thought, because she had lost a parent like that same year that she was like terrorizing me, or like 1 or 2 years prior maybe. So I hadn't lost my sister yet. I had never experienced like a very close person to me dying besides just friends. Like I had lost a couple of friends to death, but I never lost a family member or anything. So I genuinely thought that because she was going through something like this, that I was responsible for taking care of her, and like I couldn't break up with her. That's what I really truly believed, because I was raised with no kind of like personal autonomy. I was in the school for troubled girls, no personal autonomy, and like they didn't teach us like how to, even though they always used to say boundaries, they didn't actually teach us how to have healthy relationships and healthy boundaries. And at home, my parents were in a very dysfunctional and also kind of abusive relationship. So I found myself in this abusive relationship, and my dumbass thought, because I had not experienced loss in that way yet, I thought that it was not that it was okay, but that she was acting out because she had been through so much, and kind of like I felt responsible for her. Then literally after my sister died is when my relationship started to unravel with her, because even though I was so angry and grieving and felt so much loss and hatred towards some people that didn't exactly help my sister in her bad situation, I realized that grief doesn't make you abuse other people. And that's when that relationship ended. So let's talk about kind of like the lead up to that. So we're in Christian college. It is so freaking weird. It feels so isolated to live there with my freaking girlfriend. You guys, it's so weird. I mean, everybody has been a black sheep like at one point in their lives, right? So just imagine being around people who hate people like you all the time. It's just so uncomfortable. And also the schooling itself like is a joke. Christian college, really, I'm sorry if you went to Christian college, but this one was like an immersive experience. Like you can major in ministry. That's dumb, period. That's a waste of money. Also, somebody told me about this Danessa Myricks, or no, somebody didn't tell me. I read it online. I read it online that somebody said that if you let it dry, it won't crack because it's already cracking in my eye crease. But apparently, like, if you leave your eye closed for a second, it will not crack. So I'm going to just have my eye closed for a second. So me and this girl are at Evangel College, and we don't make any friends because the type of kids who go to colleges like that, they're like church kids. And me and her were kind of trying to like assimilate back into normal life. Like, we weren't traditional church kids. We were like kids like with like a troubled youth past. There was already kind of a stigma. It was just like not the vibe. We only ever made friends with one guy named Kenny, and he was like on the sports team, and he was the only person who ever like tried to hang out with us. So we hung out with this one guy and basically just stuck to ourselves. And then I tried to leave after the first semester because my girlfriend I was living in a dorm with her, and she was abusive towards me. She wasn't letting me rest. She was terrorizing me. So I called my mom and I asked her if she could please come home, and she said no, but it's because my older sister Hannah, who's now passed, was really struggling, and it was a really hard time for my entire family. So my mom just was like, I can't take you in right now. She was in the process of flipping her house, and she also could not be responsible for my crazy girlfriend too. So she said no. And then my dad, I wasn't gonna go back to his place either because he didn't accept me for who I was at the time, or who I am, I guess. I guess if I was still dating somebody of the same sex, he would still not accept me. Whoa, that's crazy to think about, because I have a boyfriend now, so I say I'm like a non-practicing bisexual because I'm in like a loving, committed relationship with a boy. So I'm non-practicing. So I wonder what my dad would think if he knew that, because he's all gung-ho for getting his relationship back with me. My dad is right now. Like, he's really trying. Like, he calls all the time. And I wonder what he would say if he were in that position. I almost want to do a social experiment to find out. So anyway, so I try to leave after the first semester. My mom says no. And so I stay at the school, and so does my girlfriend, because wherever I am, she wanted to be. She followed me to Christian college. She wanted to be around me that much. She wanted to terrorize me that much. So I then tell her, as the second semester is nearing to an end, I say I'm going back to Wisconsin, and I start trying to find a place to live because, again, I can't go back to my mom's house. My mom's going through a lot. She doesn't want me there. Nobody seems to really want me around. After sending me away for forever, nobody wants me back in their house. So I think that's funny, and I also think that's mean. So I go back and I get a job nannying for this family, and they say that my girlfriend can come live with them if I work as a live-in nanny for them. They say we can both come. So I'm like, oh, fuck. So I'm like, okay, girlfriend, I'm moving back to Wisconsin. You can stay or go. And she's like, I'm staying with you. So I'm like, fuck. And like usual, I have absolutely no backbone. There's no way in hell that I'm telling her no. I have no backbone. I have been broken down to dust. Like, you know, those grinders, like a pestle and mortar, like from the time I was sent away until like a few years after, I was just ground down to just dust, to be a shell of a person. So yeah, so she comes with me back up to Wisconsin, which is crazy. I'm just gonna put some black in my waterline. This is a Jouer shadow stick, and it's probably way too old for me to be using it, but I really like it, and I've had it for like 2 years. Let's do a little wingy action with this too. So we go up to Wisconsin, and she continues to be kind of a terror, but she's not a terror all the time, which in many abusive relationships is how it goes. And that's why a lot of people also don't necessarily leave. So yeah, I had no boundaries, and I felt responsible for her because she had gone through this grief. And then after being up there for I don't know how many months, we left the school year in the spring. Then that coming fall, September, I'll never forget it, September, my sister passes away. And that is when, like, I think my girlfriend, I think her being there at the time kind of kept me alive, because I was waking up with night terrors, the worst terrors that I don't even want to think about it. This was my worst fear came true. And so then from that point, kind of anything seemed like it could happen. So I was having the worst night terrors of my life, and I was waking up in a panic. And I think her being there helped me to live another day and to also not do anything crazy, because from that point, if you ever have lost somebody, like a family member, somebody you're really close to, but like especially like a sibling or a mother or a father, it's like, it's the worst. It's the worst. Just the fear, and also like we had to go to an open casket funeral. We had to do all this stuff. I saw a lot of visuals that were haunting me at night. So she was there, and I will say that that was keeping me, I think it was kind of keeping me alive. But then it all started to tank, and this is when I broke up with her and kicked her out. So after my sister died, first of all, I decided that I was not going back to college, and I was not spending another day doing anything that I hate to do. I'm going to put on the Ardell 705s. I was going to branch out, but this is the only lash that I truly love and adore, so I'm just going to go with it. So, what was I just saying? Oh, I decided I was not going back to college because I hated college, and I was going to take a gap year and just think about it. And then my sister passed. So I decided not to go back to college, and I started thinking about what I want to do. And then there's actually this influencer. This influencer influenced me so much that I went to the same makeup school that she went to. Dude, I was so influenced. And this was before influencer was even a word. She was a YouTuber named Samantha Ravindall. She still makes content, but I don't know if she's active. She's got like kids and stuff now, but she's still definitely on the gram. I haven't seen anything from her in a while, but I was influenced by this girl, so much so that I messaged her. She got back to me. I asked where she went to school, blah, blah, blah. I decided I was going to school in Vancouver. So I was still in Wisconsin in a toxic relationship, but I was trying to find my next move. And I also knew that this girl was not going to follow me all the way to Canada. So I picked John Casablanca's Institute of Applied Arts, and I asked my mom to help me. And my mom, like, also, like, everybody's always like, how did you forgive your parents? My mom paid for my ride to makeup school. So my mom, she She did a lot of fucked up things, like letting me go off to Alabama and live with strangers for 3 years and get fully immersed in a cult. But she sent me to makeup school. And that is why you are hearing me in front of this vanity with all these lights and all this makeup on my face now. So we got to give my mom a little respect for that. You guys already know my camera got hot, so I put my lashes on off screen. So let's pick up where we left off. Where did we leave off? Oh, so my mom volunteered to pay me for makeup school, and I literally told the girl, my girlfriend who I was living with, I was like, you can come if you want, but I knew that she was like, Canada? Like, are you serious right now? I want to move back to Louisiana. And I was like, I'm not coming. So a breakup was kind of inevitable, but I'm going to tell you guys the straw that broke the camel's back and that made that breakup happen quickly. So she had lived in Wisconsin with me for, I don't know, like maybe a good 6 months by now. I'm going to use this primer. It's like a whitish, pinkish base. And I really like it because a lot of my foundations are too yellow. And this almost like counteracts that because I like to be tan and I fake tan. So naturally the colors that I go for are a little yellow and this just brightens it right up. So let's put this on with the beauty sponge. They make other colors that like do different things. They have like a green one for redness and whatever else. I don't really care about redness. It's not really like a big problem for me. So I like this pink one. It's brightening. Okay, so it was kind of like a breakup was inevitable, but I was thinking maybe she might come with me. I don't know. Because she had followed me in so many places, but she seemed like she didn't want to. And I was like, I'm going to makeup school. I gotta go live my dreams. Like, I've been living like shit ever since I was a kid. Like, I had never, like, I always say this, it was the first day of my life when I moved to Vancouver. It was the first day of the rest of my life where I became a happy person. Well, actually, I was maybe not a happy person, but like almost a happy person. Like, I made amazing, kind friends. I met my best friend in the world. Her name is Jessica. She is my best friend. She still lives there. I live here. I haven't seen her in 3 years, but we remain besties. If you ask her, she will say, I am her best friend. No matter how many new friends she's made, makes me a little jealous, I am her bestie. She has shared a lot of life's tough experiences with me, and this is really bad, but she also lost a sibling, and I was actually with her when she received the call. So that is like a soul sister. I made the closest friends that I've ever had in my life. I had great relationships. Vancouver was the first day of the rest of my life. But I wasn't there yet. I was in Wisconsin being pushed around by my girlfriend. So this is the straw that broke the camel's back while I apply this double wear. This foundation is fire. So how did this even happen? We went to a house party with some friends, me and my girlfriend. And I knew these people, but I wasn't close to them because I had been sent away. So seeing all these people that I should have been in high school with, I really just wanted to be normal. Like, I always say this, all I really wanted was to be normal, and I just couldn't seem to be normal because I kept surrounding myself with freaking crazy people. I wanted to be normal so bad, and I go to this party with my girlfriend, and we're supposed to stay the night there because it's a party and there's lots of drinking and stuff. So me and my girlfriend are there. It's fine for a few hours, and then something happens. It triggers my girlfriend's anger problems, and she starts reacting towards somebody else. And I told her, like, I didn't take her side because she was embarrassing me, and she had reacted to something that really wasn't a big deal. Like, some guy was drunk and he like jumped on the bed that we were in and woke us up. It was like not a big deal. I think he like accidentally kicked her, but it was an accident. It wasn't done with malice. It was just like a drunk guy thing. So she starts freaking out at him. I'm trying out this Jouer concealer. I don't know if I like it. I'm gonna mix it with the KVD for color. She's freaking out at him and I'm embarrassed, and I'm like not taking her side because by this point I had had enough of this girl. She pushed me around a lot and she was just kind of like, by now I was starting to realize that like I don't have to put up with it. Like I had just experienced a really big loss and I didn't have to put up with it. So she starts then turning her anger towards me, and she takes away my phone because I'm trying to call my mom to come and pick me up. I'm like an hour away with her and I really just want to go home because she is like embarrassing me and my friends. She's grabbing my arm and pulling on me. She's just doing stuff that she shouldn't be doing and she's really embarrassing me. Like, and it's one thing, like, especially back then, like, she could do a lot in private, but doing that in front of my friends, and the lines should have already been drawn, but doing that in front of my friends really embarrassed me, and I really hate being embarrassed, and if you embarrass me, I will remember it forever, and I can't let it go. I'm a Leo. Maybe that has something to do with it. I hate being embarrassed. So she had like physically, I would call it a physical assault. She was like ripping me around, like grabbing my arm and stuff and pushing me and in front of all my friends. And so I was trying to call my mom to get me so that I could go home because I was supposed to stay the night. I had no car. She drove me there and I'd been drinking. I couldn't drive. Even if I got the keys to her car, I was stuck there. And I was like really wanting to get out of this embarrassing situation. Like all my friends just saw this and they're not really intervening because they don't know what to do. It's just like this really weird thing that's happening. And while I'm trying to call my mom, she takes my phone away and she repeatedly throws it at the ground again and again and again. And I just got that phone and I had no money. Like I was working as a nanny, and because I was living with them, because I had nowhere else to go when I got there, I was making around $5 an hour because they were charging me for room and board. So it was a scam, but I had just left Jesus camp. Like what was I to do? So she breaks my phone on purpose. My heart broke. My heart literally seriously broke. And I had just gotten that phone. I had just gotten that phone back. Somebody had just stolen my phone like not too long before. So I was so upset. I was crying and I couldn't call my mom then because she took my phone away. When I finally got back home, I think we had to wait a few hours to sober up, and then we drove back to the place that we were both living in. And I was so exhausted because by now it was like early in the morning and she would not let me rest. Something that she always did, and something that's very characteristic of abusive partners, is they don't let you rest because tired people are docile and they want to prove that you're the crazy one, and you will start to act crazy if you don't have any rest. So she was terrorizing me. She wouldn't let me sleep. She kept coming into this other room where I barricaded myself in. I locked the door. She popped the lock open and was screaming at me in the middle of the night where I worked. I worked for these people. I was like, please stop. Like, please shut the fuck up. But she wouldn't. She was terrorizing me all night. And then I shoved her off of me, and I got fully decked in the back of the head. She would not leave me alone, and so rightfully so, I did start it by saying, go away. Like, she was this close to me, yelling at me. It was loud. I was trying to go to sleep. So then I turn around, she fully punches me in the back of the head. I've never been punched before. I've never been in a physical fight. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, that hurt. That very much hurt. I hope I don't get demonetized for this. But it hurt, and it also was kind of scary. For contour, I'm going to use the Temptu concealer wheel because I don't know what to use right now. And so then the next day I have to tell my mom. I get in contact with my mom and I'm like, me and are done. She hit me and she broke my phone, and were done. So what had happened was, because this girl never wanted to leave. Even after this fight, she wanted to work it out and get back together. And to me, it was over. And I also, like, when my sister passed, I was starting to finally realize that just because you've been through bad things in life doesn't mean that you treat other people this way, because I've been through a lot of bad things in my life, even still, and I've never treated like a significant other in that way. I've never been abusive towards a partner. I cheated on a partner when I was 15. That's as bad as it gets. Like, I cheated on my 15-year-old boyfriend by kissing some other guy. Like, so yeah, I don't abuse or cheat on my partners, right? So she just treated me so bad. And then when my sister passed away, I realized, oh my gosh, there's no excuse. I'm going through such bad grief and I'm treating people kindly. And if anything, like, it made me a little feistier. Like, I'm like a little bit more scrappy probably because of it. But like I'm scrappy, like, for justice. Like, I'll expose people for justice. Like, I'll do things for justice, not because I am like cold and callous and want to hurt people. So I realized that, and I told her so that I could get her to leave. She went down to Louisiana after this big fight and after we like broke up. And while she was gone, I told the people that I was nannying for, I told them that she was moving out and that we were breaking up. And they were like, oh, they were like, oh, we're really happy for you, because they knew that it wasn't a good relationship. They didn't know the extent of it, but they knew that she was like mooching off me. Like, she never paid any rent and I was getting my pay docked so that we could both live there. And then they told me, they were like, Emily, charge her a little bit of rent because you're making a really low wage to pay for her. And I was like, that's true. And so she never paid me rent. She tried to leave with half of my income too, because we had made this purchase together. And I needed my money back, and she almost tried to not give it. But anyway, I told them that when she was moving back, she'd be leaving. And then I told her that she was moving out after I told them. And she was like, what? You told them? I was planning on staying here and living for a few more months. And I was like, well, you can't live with me. We just broke up. What, we're supposed to share a bed? This girl, she was really hard to get away from. And even like years later, she sent me emails. And and this is a fun thing to say because it's like full circle, but she told me that I was bad at makeup and that I treated my sister who died like shit, which is not true. And she said some really horrible things to me. And so when I graduated makeup school and I got like this one union job, I made a lot of money that month, especially for somebody like me who never had any money at all. I let her know that I was a great makeup artist and I was working and I was making X amount of money. And she only dreams of that, which is really petty and stupid because in hindsight, it probably wasn't even that much money, but it was a ton of money to me. And I just tried to twist the knife. And then she started saying all these crazy things to me and had to get blocked all over again. This look is almost over. We just have to do a little powder and lip situate. For lip liner, I put on Ashton. That's what I was doing. And then I want to set my face with this. I want to bake it because baking is fun, but at the same time, I also don't want to bake it. Should I bake it? You know what? Let's not bake it. Okay, so that's what I also like about this foundation, by the way. It is matte, and because I'm so oily, having a matte base allows me to use a lot less product and powder because when I wear the Mario, I have to bake that because I'm just too oily for it. So let's maybe not bake it. And let's put on this Shiseido Ginkgo Lip as I wrap up this story. Let me clean it so it's nice. I love this. This is in the shade Ginkgo Sheer Melon. If I look overly shiny with this on, then maybe I will bake it actually. But my camera got hot and I had to take a pause, so I'm trying to remember where I left off. Where the heck did I leave off? I guess I just told you about how I told the family I was nannying for, and then I told her that she had to move out. And then I kind of like forced her out. And then a few months later, I moved to Vancouver, and I have never been happier. When I moved to Vancouver, the sense of peace, to be in a city where nobody knew me and where I could just kind of start over, it was so freeing. It was the best thing airplane. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I do have my mom to thank for that, because not only did it help me then, but it also helps me now. It was the jump start to my entire career. Oh, I was telling you guys about how I was chastising her. So yes, I did chastise her because she kept trying to get in contact. Up until even last year, she started seeing my TikToks, and the girlfriend, she has apologized to me. She has said she has disclosed a certain diagnosis. This is the Milani Romantic Rose Blush. She disclosed a certain diagnosis and said that she was sorry for the way that she treated me and stuff. So that's a happy ending. I'm glad that she apologized. So we're not going to bash her, but like, this was my relationship with her. Also, people change a lot as they navigate life. So I like to think that maybe she'd be like a totally different person now, and maybe this is not a problem for her anymore. She had gone through a lot of loss and everything, but at the same time, she did really traumatize me and robbed me of all my peace and joy for 2 years, and it was my fault because I had no backbone. I'm so thankful for my life today. It is so peaceful, and I'm so thankful for every one of you guys too. Thanks for getting ready with me today. This was a little bit unhinged. Now I'm just doing a bit of contour. This is this Too Cool art class by Rodin. This is like a K-beauty line. Yeah, made in Korea. It's a K-beauty line. And I got it from Yes Style. A lot of the stuff that I'm using today I got from Yes Style. So I have a code and a link down below if you want to check them out. But I got so much awesome stuff. I'm going to be posting a reel too of my haul. So yeah, thank you guys. I love you. I feel so grateful to have this community. I love that you love the trash talk. Because I used to trash talk just in my personal life, and now I feel like I'm a professional trash talker. So I only have you to thank for that. And I'm going to be going to a workout class, so I'm actually not going to leave this on that long. I'm going to go about my business a little bit, and then I'm going to take it off. And I love you guys so much. I'm so eternally grateful for you, and I hope that you enjoyed this trash talking session. It's definitely a trauma talk for today. I love you dearly, and I'll see you for the next one.